Lynn Serrano.
And I'm Scott Jones, and we are so glad everybody can come out and join us on this beautiful Tuesday night. And anytime there's not a hurricane tearing through South Florida, it's a beautiful night. So it is a beautiful night.
What a difference a week makes, huh? Just had
Oh,
friends that
yeah.
were for 6 days didn't have electricity or water.
And let's remember, there's still people up there that are still having a hard time, and prayers and thoughts go out to them. A lot more people lost their lives than was first expected, and it was because of the amount of flooding and tidal surge. And of course, our prayers go out to the families and everybody who lost. That's a tough thing, losing everything you own and having to start over. It's hard to explain to anybody, but
and
just
and
good thoughts for them. Good thoughts.
And family in Puerto Rico who's still dealing with the stuff out there too. So
true story.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So it's this time of year where I tried my best to just pray for everybody and hope everything's for the best for everybody. It's kind of stressful, but it is what it is. And so we got Scott Ricard, which we're glad he's
He was just with me last night on my other show and had some fun with some music and stuff, and it was great.
Oh, I love it. Well, you know what? I'm going to do this in all different kinds of order. I'm just going to do this first. I'm just going to show that we're going to have That Sucks, What Now? We're going to have the conversation with Bob and Steve Rizzo. And we're going to have, Farm Girl Edibles. Oh my gosh, I ordered my crackle today.
Okay, forget the books, buy the jam. All right, Come on, it's a lot more fun. You don't have to read the jar; just eat the jam. It's so easy.
I know. Oh man, that's so good. And then we got the Flo's guy there, the master, your inner game, Donnell. And then we've got the Mr. Rex Sikes. Life on your terms, create the life you want. And then we have 50 ways to love your lover. Look at that. Aren't those all great books?
Those are
I'm going to start having a Lynn's Club and have them all come, and we're going to do different things, and that'll be a different time. But you know what? I'm popping these guys up here like popcorn. Boom, boom, boom.
Just pop them all up there, because we've got an entire row of self-help books at Barnes & Noble right here on our show.
I just love you guys. And I don't even self-promote my own book, but I'm an author too. Oh, well. But anyhow, you guys, I'm just really grateful every Tuesday we get on here and we get to talk about different topics and different subjects, and we ask either questions or we just make a statement. And Scott and I had a statement here, and Scott, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Asking for help is a sign of strength and not weakness. There's 100 different ways that you can approach this. We're almost programmed to do things on our own and not ask for help. And asking for help has always been relegated to that sign of weakness. Like, we can't figure it out on our own. We need somebody else to help us with that. Instead of looking at it as a tool in our toolbox, instead of looking at it as, I've got people in my life and I've got resources in my life that I can ask so I can advance myself. It is not a weakness. It is actually a strength to be able to know your own limitations, find out how to go beyond them from somebody else, and then do that. I've always told people, listen, you can't teach a child to speak English by giving them, when they're born, a dictionary and then leaving them alone. They need guidance. They need people to show them. Certainly there's work to do on your own, but you need people to kind of lead you. You need that Svengali. You need that person that you can look up to. Asking for help is how we grow. I have rarely seen anybody grow who's gotten all of their inspiration from their own self and not found inspiration from the outside. So I want to kind of dispel that myth and really talk about the real strength in asking for help and how that really empowers us to be able to do that. The wisest man in the world is the man who knows what he doesn't know, not who knows everything. So, that's kind of where I want to throw this out to start with.
Well, Scott, I wanted to ask though, how many of us have been pig-headed about asking for help?
Well, I know I was for years because I was stuck in an addiction. I was stuck, all of us. I was stuck in an addiction. I was stuck in thinking that I had to fix my life. And if I couldn't, then it's not fixable. And there was all sorts of things that went into that. I never made enough money. I never drove the right car. I never had anything. And I could not step outside of myself to say, let me go learn from the people who have the things I want. So, and that's something else we need to identify is if you're going to ask for help, make sure you're asking for help for things that you want and not things that you don't want. Because a lot of people ask for help because the TV told them to ask for help. No, ask for help because it's something that you want to do to improve yourself. And there's where the strength is. And we can all grow from that. But I'm sure this is a panel of experts in not only supplying help, but who at one point had to learn from someone else. So this is important for everybody, I think.
So can we ask that question first, how we felt about the idea of asking anybody for help? Or
let's talk about the struggle with that first.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, because I want to meet everybody where there might be when they're watching this topic. I'd rather talk about the problem for a second and then talk about the different solutions. So anybody want to go first? Oh man, they all don't want to go right away.
Okay, is this on? Hello.
Yes, hello. Everybody's like deer headlight.
I'll go first, but I never really had a struggle asking for help.
Okay, so we'll get to you then. The question right now is just who was it or who is it that had a hard time asking for help or admitting that first? Who can relate with the question?
Or they had to learn that lesson. Go ahead.
Okay, there you go, Scott. Hipster.
Well, it's interesting. As I was growing up, I absolutely needed no help whatsoever because I had it all figured out. And then I got over. And then I realized I didn't, and I needed a lot of help. So part of the journey, maybe I'm the only one who's ever had that, but part of it is being humbled. Going from hero to zero in a matter of seconds will do that to you. All of a sudden you find out that some other people are pretty smart, and you might just want to shut up and listen.
And you've been wise ever since. I gotta add, you surround yourself with a lot of good people. You absolutely do.
Comes down to.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to say something, Rex? I'm gonna bring Rex up. Hi, Rex.
Hey.
There you go.
I kind of concur. As a teen and growing up, I needed help, but I thought I had it together enough to not necessarily ask. But it wasn't, and when I did, it was usually, some manual thing I wasn't good at, like building a race car or something like that. Could somebody help me with this? I think it was harder when I first started breaking through as a trainer. I wrote some articles about this, as a matter of fact, because the bigger that you get as a speaker, trainer, author, celebrity, or whatever, it seems that harder it is to ask for help, especially if you're in the self-improvement business or personal development or wealth business or business or something like that, because you don't want to appear like, hey, you know what, the stuff that I teach doesn't seem to work. I need some help. So it was harder. It was harder for me as a young, upcoming provider to go get help or to ask for help because I didn't want to appear like I didn't know what I was doing. So you have to be able to be humble, and you have to be able to just say, you know what, I don't know everything, and to own up to all the things that you proclaim or that you say as a trainer or a speaker and an author, and to get out of your own way. A number of years ago, and I do this now, but there was a period of time when I just trained and spoke and traveled. And I would look around and go, nobody's feeding me. I'm just always in front of people. I'm always talking. I'm always doing this, but nobody's taking care of me, and I'm not able to go. So I stopped at some point. I just started doing seminars like crazy and retreats and everything else, just to be a participant, just to put myself back in that seat of I want to learn. I want to sit at the feet of other people, even though I didn't care what they were teaching so much. Or I just wanted to not be the person in the front of the room. I wanted to be the person lost in the crowd and be able to ask for help. And I would go to seminars and things that I might normally do and actually be good at. I wasn't there to flaunt. I wasn't there to go, hey, I'm a speaker or an author. I just wanted to be an anonymous person and make mistakes and errors like everybody else. at the time. And so that really taught me a lot, in terms of what we need.
Well, that I can so relate to that because for 15 years I was a pleasure party girl and I was helping a lot of relationships and a lot of communication. But what people didn't understand when they'd ask me, I bet you and your husband are having a great time. What people didn't understand was I'd deflect by saying, well, the car mechanics, cars always last to be fixed. I said, I'm the car mechanic. And I'd leave it at that. Some would get it, some wouldn't. But it got to a point where I felt like, I loved seeing everyone happy, but I wasn't happy. And then my life changed and I had to just get out of that and go see therapy and figure myself out because I knew what a good relationship was, but for 19 years of marriage, I didn't have that. So I had to look in the mirror and get help to repair. I know what it is for a good relationship, but I didn't know what it was, how it was to get help for being in. They showed me the list and there was only 3 things out of domestic violence that didn't occur in my marriage. Only 3 things. And so I had a hard time admitting that I was even in that place. So it was a lot of denial and saying, okay, it's in the past, let's go on. But it took some time to just look in the mirror and admit, I need to help with this because I was usually helping everybody. I didn't expect anybody to help me back. So I can relate exactly what you're saying, Rex. So, Barry, did you want to say something next?
It was following up from what Scott and Rex have said, because I was the other way around in a sense. I didn't ask for help at all, but I did it from a place of fear. I wasn't asking for help because I was afraid that people would look at me and go, see, he really isn't that good. So I knew up front I wasn't that skilled, but I didn't want other people to know that. So I was hiding it well. And that cost me a lot because through high school, I did middle grades. And then when I went to college, after the first year, I was out because I didn't do well enough. And I didn't ask for help. So a lot of my first few decades were stumbling through life, attempting to do better, but not having the help because I didn't ask for help. But then thankfully, I got to be in a seminar in my late 20s. And it was fundamentally that I couldn't keep the walls up. In fact, one retreat I went on, we do these things called ropes courses, or endurance, no, of course, things outward bound type stuff. And we do these things. And one of the things we would do is we'd climb a ladder up at 65 feet up a tree and then jump out to grab a ring, which sounded so much fun. First couple of times it was. Third things, maybe the second or third time I did it, I wanted to jump up, climb up the ladder, jump for the ring and succeed. And we were in groups of probably about 15, 20 people and taking turns going up the ladder. I remember vividly that I got 6 feet up that ladder and the facilitator said, stop. And I'm on a belay line, so I'm being held by harness. And he said to me, when are you going to let people in? When are you going to let people support you? Because I'd ignored my group completely. I was like, focus on the task, got that and get up there. For about what felt like an hour, it probably was about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, he processed me through letting people in and be supported. And what he gave me as an assignment from that point forward was to not do anything unless other people helped me. So literally, he pulled me off the ladder. And again, 6 feet off the ground, it's 65 feet up. And I'm like, I'm looking up there and I can't go there. Pulled me off the ladder on the belay line, lowered me to the ground. I couldn't support myself. And and it was the most bizarre thing. I remember vividly the sounds of the women and the men going, we can help him, this feeling of joy that they could give. And they'll they took my harness off, my helmet off. They gave me water. They basically pretty much carried me for that event. After that, I could walk. I was allowed to again, but I had to ask other people for my bottle of water, for any food, anything I needed help with. I had to ask for it. It was a game changer in my life. And so the lesson I got in that moment was how joyful it was to ask for help and receive it. But boy, that was a hard lesson learned.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wow.
That's a brilliant story. Love that. But
I've had a few life experiences.
You see, and everything is all about perspective, I felt the same way you did. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to feel like a fake, because my life wasn't joyful and in a loving relationship. So I can totally relate to that. So Now, do we want to move on, Scott, or does anybody else want to comment on?
See if anybody else wants to comment on this. I mean,
Okay.
because the one thing that came to my mind
Bob?
while everybody was talking was there's an old thing they used to say, "Fake it till you make it." I'm sure you guys have all heard that. Fake it till you make it. That's really not a good lesson for us. It's not a good lesson to say, listen, con your way into knowing what you're doing. Instead of it's don't fake it, don't know it and learn it. Don't fake it, study it. Don't fake it, ask for help. And then you can make it. But if everybody's faking it till they're making it, they're just doing this kind of a con job on themselves that, I could do it on my own.
Yeah.
It's something that popped into my mind. I don't know if that's appropriate.
Rex want to say something.
Yeah, that's a bastardization of Milton Erickson's phrase, you can pretend anything and master it. The point was to master things and to enact, to rehearse, to pretend, to be it, not to be faking it out in the real world,
Right?
And acting like you're it, but to take a skill and to make it part of you. And sadly, that phrase has become very popular. It was popularized, and it is just a completely not a healthy idea. You want to have competence to do something. Like if you wanted to walk a tightrope, you first need confidence that you can do it. You can either you think you can or you think you can't. Then the question is can you do it? Well, you want to develop the skills to be able to do it. So the way they actually teach tightrope walking is to put a rope on the ground, and they're not ropes like you use bondage ropes, because they're anyway, you walk on the ground, then they raise it up about 6 inches. If you can do that, they raise it up 2 feet. Then if you can do that, they raise it up 6 feet, because you want to develop the confidence that you can do it while developing the competence. Because if you don't have competence and you just think, well, I can walk a tightrope, you're in deep trouble, depending on what it is that you're doing. So the competence and confidence go hand in hand. And it is about mastery, not about faking it till you make it. And I'm so sad that well, I'll live, but it's so sad that phrase has become popularized in that way.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. That's why I said it's like instead of using the word fake, learn it until you make it, and study it and practice it and do those things. But the fake is the shortcut that people take, and then they don't go beyond the fake. And that's the sad part. You're right. It has been bastardized. I get it.
But it also gives the idea that you don't have to have anything in order to present yourself. Just go out there and act like you're the best. You see it in the training industry a lot. You see it in the people help. They don't have the skills or the top training. They just get out there and start talking because they heard somebody else say it. If you've been in a training business like NLP, like I have long enough, you can tell where people get their quotes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can tell who they attribute to. Like my saying is, if you wait long enough, every quote will be attributed to Tony Robbins. But people who know will say, "Oh, that's Tony," but another person say, "Well, that was Jim Rohn, or that was Zig Ziglar, or that was so and so." You understand, how deep they actually train or how deep they actually learn. And a lot of people don't go very deep; they just repeat the people they learn from.
Yeah, I think Fake It Till You Make It was actually on my life coach certification that I bought in the mail.
This
You are certified.
I just love this one. That sucks. Now what? What now?
Bob, you look like you're ready to say something, brother.
Yes, Bob.
No, just listening in.
Oh, okay. It's hard to tell with him. You're always thinking. The problem is we all know you're always thinking and you come in at the right time. So I won't force the moment.
I just listen to everybody else.
And then
I'm just a fly on your wall right now.
And we love you being a fly on the wall. We really do.
Oh,
so now you want to move on to Scott, your original question.
Yeah, the original question is that, let's demonstrate for people with our own experience and through what we've seen by helping others. And I'm a firm believer that we continue to ask for help. We continue to learn. I can't possibly inspire people to learn if I'm still not learning. If I tell everybody I got it all and I'm a full cup, then, pretty much 5 minutes with me, you're going to know everything I know, because it's nothing. It's my continued learning, but that's the strength of what I do and who I am is by continuing to learn. Yes, that's it. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the real strength behind that for ourselves and for people that we help, how we see that as our real strength is the ability to continue to learn, which is in turn asking for help. Let's talk about that.
Who would like to be the first one? I think Scott.
Steve, you want to nail this one?
Yeah.
Steve doesn't ask anybody for
You know
shit.
what?
He's just
You know
like
what?
sitting there.
You know what? This is going to be like candid camera.
So, if anyone would ever ask me, and I've been asked this question a few times already, what's the key to your success as a speaker? Without even thinking, I'd say I was never afraid to ask. When I made the transition from stand-up comedy to speaking, I knew the speaking thing is what I wanted to do. And I went to my first National Speakers Association workshop, and I got really nervous because I didn't know anything about how to create a speaking business, what to do. And I started my mind started boggling. So I started asking around a couple of people, who's one of the best in the business. And they gave me a few names, and I was walking in the hallway during one of the workshops, and I met this one guy whose name came up, and I introduced myself, and actually he knew me because I performed at his club in Columbus, Ohio. And I said, listen, I if you don't mind, I'd like to have your phone number. This was many years ago. And I'd like to, I don't know anything about the speaking business. And if you don't mind, I'd like to call you a couple of times. Maybe you could just give me some info. And he said, no, I don't think I can do that. And I just stood there and I said, oh, okay, that's fine. I appreciate that. And he said, I got a better idea. And I said, what? He goes, why don't you just come to my house, meet my family in Columbus, Ohio? You can spend a couple of days, and every day you can go to my office for 2 or 3 days, and I'll show you exactly what I do to create the business that I have. And it was pretty amazing. I did that. Maybe 3 weeks later, I went there. I spent time there, and I actually learned the speaking business. And I did the same thing. I took that same pattern with every facet of my speaking career because there were so many things that needed to be done. The next thing was, how do I create a great video demo? Who do I go to that can help me do this? I knew nothing about it. Somebody mentioned the top guy's name. I asked him, and he's the one that really catapulted my career. And the beauty in all of this is that these two guys happen to be, for 25, 26 years now, two of my closest friends. And it's all because I wasn't afraid to ask. I did the same thing with my website, with every facet of my career. I do the same thing now with social media. I don't know this stuff that well. You put me on stage, you tell me to write a book, you tell me to do something like that, do a podcast. That's where I shine. That's my thing. That's what I do. I'm an entertainer at heart. But that other stuff I've learned, and it was easy for me to learn. Well, hell, if you don't know it, ask somebody who does and learn it. And that's what I do. It's really the easiest thing to do. Okay, so maybe that wasn't a good idea.
I can't agree more. Yeah, and then you wonder why you waited so long to ask for help, though, right? Like, wow,
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I didn't. Not in my speaking career. I didn't. It was the first meeting I went to when I realized I started panicking, and I said, "Holy shit, I don't know this stuff. I need help." As soon as I said I need help, and I don't know how to do this, I'm at a place where everybody knows how to do this. That's what it's about. So I asked, and it was very easy. And I do this with every facet of my life now, by the way. Whether it's finances or something else that I might be confused in or whatever it may be, I'm not afraid to ask anybody. But the same thing goes. I'm always helping people out. When people ask me for something, my expertise, what I do, whether it's how to get a publisher, how to write a book, and how to sell it, whatever it is, I can help people do that. And I never say no, ever.
Well, this brings a point, you guys. This is what people don't understand. Why do we think we have accountants, engineers, this and this? We all have a special superpower that we're good at, and that's why we need each other. That's why it's good to ask, because I may not know how to do something, but I could ask Bob or Flo or anyone of you guys here and say, hey, do you know somebody that does this? And that's where you connect the pieces. And that's why, like Bob always says, connections are important because you can learn how to do stuff yourself, but it's just like a reference of a chef. He doesn't want to learn how to be a hostess or the accountant. He wants to be in the kitchen and cook. So he asks other people to help him with his dream to get his meals out. That's just an example. And I mean, the chef would only stay very small and Legacy or Emerald or whatever you call it. I mean, it's just like it takes a village. It takes people together to get your vision together. But again, that I think that's the strength it's not a weakness, but it's a strength to realize that we can all get what we want if we all help each other.
Yeah.
And ask.
And the person that's helping you gets empowered too, though.
Yeah.
Because if it feels good when you get that honest thank you, and I went to pay this guy and he wouldn't take any money from me at all. And it made him feel good. And it solidified a very, very crucial relationship in my life. It's so important to me. And it's all because I wasn't afraid to ask. Most people are afraid because they're afraid they're going to get the no.
Yeah.
There's also a cool thing that can happen when you ask for help and when you ask for instruction or direction is that if it's something that you truly take to heart, then you actually put your own flavor into it and you actually expand upon what you're being taught. You actually take it to a next level on your own power. There is a self-motivation in there too, where you say, okay, I've learned this. Now what can I do with it? It's not just following exactly what they're saying.
Yeah.
They say, yeah, this is how you bake a cake, but I'm looking around saying, I want to put bacon in my cake because bacon makes everything better. I'm telling you right now. And
true that.
And then it becomes my cake.
That's right.
When people teach me how to do certain speaking things, when I do my public speaking, I'm sure I'm nothing like you guys. The first thing I go in there and I said, I'm going to do my goddamnedest not to swear while we're doing the show. And that's how I start, and it throws everybody off and I have fun. But I have my own style. But I had to learn someone else's style so I can incorporate it, figure out how to make it mine. And there's something really, it's almost like, yes, they help me, but they help me unlock something within me. And when you own some of that, it doesn't seem so hopeless, like I need somebody to tell me what to do. Does that make sense to anybody how I'm explaining that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. When a couple different things. Zig Ziglar, the last lunch I had with him, had 4 pens and pulled out those pens. And he says, you know why I have these pens with me? A book is fixing to get written. He was always ready. He was always learning. He was always the first guy. He always sat in the first row when another speaker was speaking. And I think there's a general piece about curiosity in there. And you've got to be a passionate learner. You've got to be one of those people who's constantly curious and getting to know people. If you're a speaker or a trainer, you better like people or you're in the wrong dang business. You better figure out, that you want to talk to them, that you want to get to know them. And there's got to be some curiosity there. And with that curiosity comes that ability to ask for things from that side. When I've written checks to 19 different mentors across my career, but I said the same thing to each and every one of them as I did it. Give me everything you got, and my commitment is I won't keep it. I'll share it with my students or my clients.
Yes.
And that's the only way that you can do it, in my opinion, is to ask, when when it came down to wanting to be a professional speaker, I went to seek out the best speaking mentor on the planet at the time, John Childers, and wrote him some big ass checks along the way. When it was success, it was Jack Canfield. When it was stock market, it was Freddie Rick and Mike Koval. The point is, asking the experts is the strongest way of doing it, quite frankly. Why would you want to flail around? The model's there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
The wheel is there. You just want to put it on its edge. Trying to lay it flat and push it doesn't make any sense. The wheel is already there. And so, and the other thing I found when I did that is people love those who want to learn from them.
Yeah.
And they want to give you more because not everybody wants to learn. So if you invest in them and say, you're my mentor, give me everything you got, the chances are they'll willingly, gladly give you everything you got. And then it comes down to 1 7-word phrase. Ask, 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 ask.
I'm sorry, what was the 6th one?
You didn't write fast enough.
I thought you were saying ass.
Ass.
Well,
Yeah.
that was not the no. You gotta keep on asking for things, because what's the worst? I mean, I learned something a long time ago. I ask you for something, you say no. I still don't have the something. My life did not get worse.
Yes.
It might not have gotten better, but it didn't get worse. There's somebody saying no to you is okay. Your life didn't change. So go ask somebody else. Yep. There are plenty of people who love to help, especially when you become more mature. Again, code word for older. You get to the point where you go, hey, would love to share with you. Thanks for asking.
Now, asking the right person is important too, though, because we spent a lot of time in our childhood listening to our 400-pound gym teacher telling us, if you don't climb that rope, you're a loser. And I'm looking at him saying, you get your fat ass up that rope. And he ain't going to be able to do it. And I've got to sit there and take that. So we're taught as children, if they're bigger than us and if they're louder than us, we listen to them.
True.
And now as adults, we got to go the other direction. Rex, are you picking up on what I'm saying too?
No, yeah, I would. You jumped in just as I would have regarding, it's important who you learn from and who you ask and who you listen to. First, I want to set some parameters. If you have a drug problem or you're suicidal or you have an emotional difficulty or mental physical threat or something like that, ask anyone for help. Try and get to the right authorities, but be sure to ask anyone. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Stop the car, do whatever you need to do in order to be safe and to survive and to, pass your genes along if you should be so lucky. But but other than that, you need to know who to ask and who to learn from. Yeah. Not everybody is teachable. I mean, in other words, it's up to the students to be willing to learn, to be curious and extract it. If you're going to the top guy in speaking or banking or something like that, you're probably doing an okay job. But if you're asking, your 5 broke friends how they make money and how to be successful, but yet that's what most people do. Think about this. There are people in the upper echelon, royal families around the world, the silver spooners around our country and everything else. They vibe at a completely different level than the people who have no money and who are broke and who can't figure things out and don't know what to do next. These people down here are talking to all themselves about what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? These people up there are going, what do we create? What do we do next? How much money can we make tomorrow? What's going to happen? There's a difference. So you want to know who to ask. Now, with me, I've gotten to anyone and everyone I've ever wanted to meet in the world, assuming that they were alive when I got there. And by asking, do you know this person, or asking that person, or doing it? I want to tell you 2 quick stories. They're both the same story, 2 different people. They will remain anonymous. One is a famous multimillionaire presence on the internet who went to like Elon Musk or to Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, one of the top wealthiest people in the world, got an audience with a person, spent 30 or 40 minutes, with them, and said, I left and I realized I talked the entire time. I wanted to impress this billionaire with everything I'd accomplished, and I didn't ask, how did you do it? What did you do? I forgot that I'm not there to impress. He's not impressed by me. He said, okay, very good, thank you, and left. It was over, that opportunity. And he said, I kicked myself all the way home. The other was somebody that I know very well who had an audience with a really big Hollywood producer, writer, and they had a lunch, and the guy was gracious enough to say, I'll read your screenplay, and did, and then came back and said, here's what I would change. Here's what I would do. And I think you got a really good project. So the person left, and then they called me up, and this was a few months later. I said, "Did you make the changes?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, why not?" I said, "Well, I was partnered with somebody else, and they have all the reasons, all the excuses, all the why they didn't do it." And I said, "You do know that this person gave you an audience, read your screenplay on top of it, and invested their time in you, and gave you counsel." And you did what 98%, 99% of what everyone else does is they go, thank you very much. They leave and they don't take the advice. They don't do it. I said, the least you could have done, even if you weren't going to sell it, even if it was somebody else's project with you, is to do what he said, take it back, say, what do you think? He could have said, well, it sucks. I don't like my idea, or you didn't do it justice, or here's what. But at least let him know that you're a person who valued his time and energy and effort and money enough to take the advice or the counsel and to put it into practice. At least demonstrate your value to them. And a lot of people don't do that. They suck it up. They want it, but they're not teachable. And they spend all their time talking about themselves instead of being curious enough to learn from the people who they could really benefit from.
Wow. Good stories. Thank you for the message about the addiction and the mental health too.
Yep.
If you need help, you ask anybody. If you got to scream in the middle of the street, you do it. Don't wait. You'll be brought to the people who need to speak to you. You don't have to seek them out. So just please be loud about that. Thank you for mentioning that, Rex. It means a lot.
Amen.
Mr. Bob Donnell.
It's about time, Bob. Bob and Flo are going to have to kick in sooner or later, or else we're going to start charging them rent to sit here and look at us.
I mean, there's so many great thoughts that have already been shared, so I just always want to make sure that I'm not duplicating anything. But I'll tell you that the couple of things really quick. For me, I was taught a long time ago that as much as you know about something, you know nothing. As much as you know about something, you know nothing. And it was drawn an illustration I use a lot of times when I'm doing seminars, and that is I'll have a whiteboard, and I'll say, pick a subject, any subject. Now, tell me how much, if this whole whiteboard represents everything there is to know about that subject, how much of that do you think you know? And everyone will always come up with a dot. They'll go, that's all I know of that. And I go, then why do you keep going back to the dot to solve every problem? Why don't you act like you know nothing and then just go, I would rather learn about what I don't know than go back to what I already know. So that's something that I think has been really useful for me. But I'll tell you why that probably was most important is because when I was growing up, we moved a lot. I went to over 20 different elementary and junior highs. I went to 6 different high schools. I was always the new kid in school. I was always the new kid. I never started school one year and ended and went back to the same school the next year, ever. So based on that, I had to always be curious, the great word that Scott Schilling used. I had to always be curious, and I always had to be subject to other people's influence. Now, the benefit of that was what I learned was how to pick the right people and how to have allies versus foes. The other part of that was this whole idea that my mom was a great mentor in this, not because she knew to teach this, but my mom was raising 3 boys by herself, and she had no help financially from our fathers, and I never even knew my dad. And I can tell you this, that she was the epitome of a person being so humble that she had no problem asking people for help. No problem. I mean, I remember one time when my mom wanted to, we drove by a circus on a carnival on the street. And I said, I really want to go to the carnival, Mom. And she goes, well, let me see. We had no money. I knew better, but we had no money. And when she got home, I remember her saying, I'll be right back. And she went into the room and she called one of our very dear friends. Their daughters are like sisters to me. And I remember her saying, Bobby would really like to go to the carnival today. And I just don't have the money. Is there anything I can do? And the lady, I remember, said, we'll be over there. And within an hour, they were at our house, and she just took us to the carnival. My mom never had her ego never got in the way of asking for help. It's the greatest example of that in my entire life, bar none. And so I just want to wrap it up with that saying, when I ask for help, I had a great mentor say, why do you not ask for help? Why do you not do this? And I said, well, I don't know. And their comment was, why are you so willing to deprive someone of one of their human needs to be a contributor to your life? And you're just being selfish. That That was
It's
a
a
game
slap
changer.
in the
Nice
face.
reframe.
Wow. Well,
But
I think you got everybody a little choked
you,
up on that one. I mean,
it's
that's
funny
huge.
Yeah.
because when I was not into asking for any help, and I've been blessed with a lot of people to help me in different things. One thing is that because I had children, I could put my pride aside always and make sure that I was going to make anything happen for my children,
Right.
and I'd ask for help any which way, to do that. And so, matter of fact, we had a Sunday, we had a get together for a going away from friends that they helped me when I was really, really sick and were there for my kids. And it was just nice. One time I was able to pay her back because she too, she wouldn't ask for anything, but she's like, I'm going to do a garage sale because I want to go to this management, um, book club. This author's coming to town, and it's how to declutter your house, and I'm doing a garage sale. She goes, but the deadline for that course is today. I'm like, oh. I go, where'd you hear about that? She goes, in the Penny Saver. So I did go to the Penny Saver and said, look, this lady's going to call and she's going to ask you if she can pay you tomorrow because she's getting the money together. I said, please let me pay for it. And this is her name and everything. And she called me back. She goes, Lynn, because the lady played it off real good. Is this Melody? Oh, we got your ticket all paid for. And she figured out it was me. But again, it's one of those things that it is amazing because she too, we as mom, we don't ask for things, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And that's one thing that we should, commend a lot of women, that sometimes that's the blessing when you're pig-headed and not ask for help for yourself. You definitely can do it for your children. That's for sure.
I'd love to know, Flo, if you got anything you want to add to this about, asking for help in your life.
Well, there's been a lot said, and it's like Bob was saying, you don't want to repeat everything, because I do agree with the statement of, asking for help is a sign of strength. But sometimes, and it's already been covered, depends on who you ask too. Or sometimes you get the opposite of unsolicited advice, where it's like, hey, did I ask for help, or was I just making a statement? So that was where I went on when, with the statement of asking for help as a sign of strength. But sometimes if you just say it in a statement and instead of a question, you do get that unsolicited advice you weren't really expecting.
But don't we all just love unsolicited advice? Isn't that something we look forward to every day?
And sometimes that was hard for me to just
listen.
not comment back.
This isn't. This is just me doing a infomercial here for this yummy stuff. I am put an order in for my crackle peanut butter stuff. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Go to farmgirledibles.com and check that out.
Thanks, you guys.
Yes.
And like I said, if you're gonna buy any book from any of these guys, you got to have jam to eat while you're reading it. Okay,
yeah,
that's what you need.
Actually, what I had today was
Because you need the energy to get through all the pages.
Oh.
You need the. Oh wait, what do you got? What do you got?
Oh
this
my
is
gosh!
The crackle. This is the honeycomb peanut candy. That's
my gosh!
Kind of may look like peanut brittle, but it's not.
Oh my gosh, it's so damn good. And I did have some of that. I had the apple merlot mixed into my cottage cheese today. I'm pre-diabetic, so I just got diagnosed with that. So I'm just like, but hey, I got the stuff here, so I'm being really nice and going, ooh, But yeah,
Aww.
So I will.
We do have the sugarless for pre-diabetic now. So for the cranberry jalapeno is the sugarless.
She's probably pre-diabetic. I'm post-addict, so I only had 12 bars today.
No, I had the real stuff. I can't go for the imitation now.
That was great.
Oh, and it isn't that kind of edibles either. So
no, it's not. That's right.
No,
and it's not the pleasure party kind of edibles either. There's so many claws of which edibles we're talking about. Anyways, go ahead, Barry. What did you say?
Oh, so that took a left turn.
Yeah, it did.
It usually does with us. It usually does.
Yeah.
We've already used our intelligent thought. Now we're just into babble.
Well, gee, it's already been 44 minutes, and we should start wrapping it up. And we should start with Scott. I'll let you do the wrap up, and we'll have Scott Hipster go first because he's going to slide out the back door on us.
Okay,
So,
you want me to
Yeah.
set up the wrap up? Okay,
Yeah.
well, the
Yes,
wrap up.
please.
I mean, definitely, we've heard a lot of great things today, and I think we all agree on, reaching out for answers beyond ourselves, asking for help is a sign of strength. The true strength is not in knowing you can conquer the world, but in knowing your limitations and deciding which ones do I want to go beyond, and getting the help to do that, and knowing you can do it, but you need information. And I think one of the greatest things said here is it doesn't do any good to ask for help if you're not going to listen to the answer. I think that was probably the simplest, most easy concept in the world, but it's the one that we all miss. We're so busy trying to self-promote, we forget to listen to the person we went to, and we're not listening to the answer, and then we're certainly not applying it. If I could have figured it out on my own, I wouldn't have been standing in front of this person. I couldn't. Now I'm in front of this person. Take the advice. Try it. I mean, that's what life is. It's trial and error. And of course, I try it my way. If it doesn't work, I go to someone else and try their way. And I'll keep going until I find a way that works for me. And you may have to ask 5 people the same thing. But eventually you'll find something that works in your life. But if it's important to you, you'll do it. It's not weakness, it's strength. Weakness is when you lay back, you argue for your limitations, and you accomplish nothing. That's weakness. So with that, let's wrap this up with, Scott Schilling. Always a pleasure, brother. Always.
Thank you. Always an honor to be here. The biggest problem with trial and error, the error. I mean, it just doesn't work very well. And so the reality is, why would you work on trial and error when you know there are models that work? The mentorship apprenticeship approach is proven to be the most phenomenal approach across history of somebody being able to pass down that skill to somebody else. If you want to do something, model somebody who's already made it work. The wheel's been invented. You don't have to reinvent it. You just have to take the wheel, and you can modify it, whatever. But again, there are so many brilliant things said here today, but it really is, you're going to be off course in your life far more than you're ever on course. It's not about being off course. It's being off course less often. And you can do that by following some great wisdom that's already passed before you. There is wisdom that comes with age, whether people choose to believe that or not. Took me until I got old to believe that. But the fact
mature, like you said, mature.
But yeah, mature. But the fact is, there is something when you've been through it, it's amazing what happens. You gain that knowledge because you've lived it, and there's still value in that today. So find the person that you want to emulate, who is the right quality for you, and then go for it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're awesome. Okay, who wants to be next?
Let's go to Barry next.
Yes, Barry.
Okay.
And thank you, Scott. I love you, and I'll see you a little bit.
See you in a little bit.
Got rendezvous after the show. A couple of things. For me, that was said by the people after I was said as well, is that people get joy from giving. So not only is it a smart move to ask for help from other people, but it's also a gift to give other people the chance to help you or help me. And one way I've had this in my head for a long time is that for most people on the planet, we have 2 hands. One of which is to reach up to get help from somebody above us, and also one hand to reach down to help somebody below us. So we are in the journey all helping each other. Part of humanity, I feel like, is like we all are helping each other, being helped and helping at the same time. So this is the strength, I think, of humanity, is that we have that gift. And when we don't ask for help, we cut off that supply. So be willing to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Love
Absolutely.
that.
This comment was interesting. We got to put this up here real
From
quick.
Jerry. Our friend Jerry.
That was the downfall of the Donner Party. They did not follow the advice of an experienced guide, and it took a bad turn. Yeah, they asked the wrong person about how to hold a family picnic. And look what happened. I'm sorry. Was that wrong?
Yeah.
Too soon. Too
And no,
soon.
that wasn't too soon.
No, not too soon. So that's why I say always travel with A1. You never know when you're going to need it.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, you said that in the previous show.
All
Okay,
right. Who's
who's
next?
next?
Funny. Too funny.
Okay, I'm
How
gonna
about
just
Steve?
stick.
Let's go with Steve.
Okay, Mr. Steve.
What's your wrap up on this, Steve?
Well, asking has a lot to do with prayer too. Ask and you shall receive. And just to tag on what you were just saying, Scott, sometimes that person that you're asking, and you're asking for a prayer for an answer for something. So the first person you ask gives you a little bit of criticism or asks you to change something, and you don't do it. You could be very well foiling the answer to your prayer. That could be the main reason why you asked that person to begin with, not to get the answer that you wanted, just to get the advice that they were giving. And you ignore that. And then we go on in our lives wondering why our prayers weren't answered. You just foiled them. And an answered prayer that could have been very well the answer that you needed to get to where you wanted to go. All I know is that when I was starting my speaking career, just asking that one person made it so much easier for me to take every step in that direction, just to keep asking. And as I said earlier, it helps the other person too. And you never know the friendship that can evolve as a result.
Yeah.
And it makes you appreciate life so much more. It makes you realize that we're all in this somehow together. Everyone needs help. Everyone needs guidance along the way. And it's all a process that we could all be a part of. Someone says no, you just say thanks for your time. And move on and ask somebody else.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Who's Lynn? You call somebody up. All right,
Okay,
there we go.
I guess I'm part of the next one up. Well, just to recap, I liked what everybody had said, and just to just when you do ask, don't just take the advice of one person or one expert. Do research, like I think Scott Jones was saying. Do your research, and help can come in many ways. So. That's where I kind of went.
That's a good point.
Very good point. Thank you very much, Flo.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your you're thriving in business and doing the things you're doing. It's a joy to watch you do this stuff. It's really awesome.
Thanks, you guys.
Really awesome.
That's really. And Lynn, you're on mute, honey. I see you're moving.
I did. Maybe I shouldn't tell everybody. Next week I plan to have some crackle with me. See,
I'm sorry, I can't do that anymore. Oh, you said crackle. Oh, I thought you said something else.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's the good kind.
It's the new stuff. It's the good stuff.
Just as addictive, though.
Oh my! It is. I'm gonna.
Bob, what do you think? What do you think, Bob?
I think one of the things that I just want to always remind myself about this is it's a muscle to build.
Yeah.
The first time you ask, you might be uncomfortable. The 100th time you ask, you might be uncomfortable. That's how you know that you're asking better questions and you're asking more than one person. If it ever gets stale, it's probably because you're asking the same person over and over again, and they may or may not be the expert. And two, it's probably because you haven't built the muscle yet. So build the muscle, and then also the last part of that would be to really understand that. Make sure that you're asking a quality question of the person that you're asking for help from. A lot of times I think people ask me, Bob, I just want to learn everything. Well, I can't teach you everything. So that was a stupid question to ask. It's not going to land well, and it doesn't give me legs to run with for them. So
they just used up one of their wishes.
So just be specific and be intentional about what you're asking, and give them the direction of what you're actually asking so that they can answer the question, not something else.
I love that. That's a stupid question. I love that. But that's the truth. You're right. I mean, if you're going to go seek answer for things that make sense. And don't just say everything.
Says, hey, I know you're going through a tough time. What can I do to help you? Well, you could wash my car. You could do my grocery shopping. What did you have in mind?
Yeah. It's like the people say, I want to make a lot of money. Well, go rob a freaking bank then.
Right.
But that's not what do you want to do to fulfill yourself? What do you want to do to grow?
Yeah.
What do you think, Rex? Are we on the right path, brother?
You're way off. You're lost. There's no hope. You need to ask for directions. So I don't want this to be political. I'm going to use somebody who's in the news, but I don't want it to be political. But I want to use it as an example because everybody knows kind of the history. I wouldn't go to Donald Trump to learn how to be wealthy because he inherited his wealth. I want to go to somebody who didn't have money, who built a business. If I inherited a lot of wealth, I might go to Donald Trump. But you want to go to the person who's kind of starts and is where you have been or where you are and has made something of themselves. So you need to pick your role models wisely. And and then, as everybody said, don't be afraid to ask. But lastly, don't be afraid to repeat people here. We learn through repetition. Sometimes the message needs to be said more than once by different messengers. So if you say, all I'm going to say is what somebody else said, fantastic, because maybe we all need to hear it again.
Absolutely.
Good point. Love that. Thank you so much, Rex. I know you're a busy person, and he has the clubhouse every day, and I really miss my clubhouse.
We miss you.
Yeah, I gotta get in there. So,
and anyone here is welcome to come in, and some have, some people have said, hey, come on in clubhouse, and the next day they're there. So feel free to join us.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, if Lynn will show me how to do it, I'll join in when I can.
Yes,
that'll be cool.
I've got you already on
that.
Clubhouse, but I'll send you the text invite. You click that, and you get in. That's pretty much how that works. So.
Oh, cool. Do I have to be dressed to do this?
No, matter of fact, it's all audible. But we have
audible?
People that
it's all edible.
Audible. We have had people that have gone to the bathroom and not muted themselves. So
don't do that.
There's been some hot mics in some rooms. That's a story in itself. We should talk about that sometime.
That's because they didn't learn the podcast from an expert. That's why.
Yeah.
This happened in training environments numerous times throughout the last half a century.
Yeah. Especially on Zoom, people forget to put the camera. We were talking about that before the show. People forget.
And I don't know about the ladies' room, but no good noise has ever come out of a men's room. There's never been a good noise that come out of a men's room.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Well, this has been a very fantastic show because we shared some of our vulnerability and admission of it's not always easy to ask for help. But it's also nice to know that, if you can't do it, if you can't get help for yourself, do it for the ones that love you, that need. And sometimes it's the way you perceive things and the perspective. And so sometimes as a mother, we just say, hey, or a dad, okay, sometimes we can't do it for ourselves, but we do it for the kids, for our children. So, that's the perspective. It doesn't matter what it is, or for your mom or dad that love you. It just look at it from a different angle. Don't keep looking at it the same way and expecting something different to happen. And again, why not reach out to people that are where you want to be or that you resonate with. So there's some valid, good nuggets that we dropped today. And I'm just very grateful that we have such a great, awesome panel here. So it's always an honor to have all of you guys here. Scott?
Just thank you, everybody. This is a group of people that, certainly they spend their time helping people and doing things for other people, but it all is born from their own curiosity, their own self-growth. And if you learn it from somebody who hasn't experienced that or who does not continue to grow, you'll know pretty quickly that you just wasted some money, wasted some time, and certainly took some bad advice. So that's why it's such an honor to be around these people that are always looking for new answers and everything. My truth from last year is not the same as my truth this year, and it won't be the same as my truth next year. I keep learning and I keep growing, and that's all I can do. And look at all these things. You got to get all these books. You got to get some jam. You got to get some brittle. You need the brittle so you could scoop the jam out, lick it off the brittle, then chew on the brittle while you're looking at the book. Don't get it too close. You don't want the pages stick together. Well, that's a whole different thing. It just
and panel stay stay after because Steve wants to give you a special invite. But again, I want to thank everyone for being here. Oh, I love this picture of Mr. Rex. Anyways, I love you guys so much. You mean the world to me, and we really appreciate you. So everyone, have a great day. Remember, don't be too prideful to stunt yourself from growing and being and learning that we all are connected to help one another. And it's just a wonderful thing when you realize that we are here to enrich each other's lives. So I'm blessed to be with you guys. Love you guys. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Good night.
Keeping me safe and sound.